if you're a man and you're in your 40s or your 50s and you don't know about TRT or testosterone replacement therapy, well, I think you should. I've been on a journey with it for the last few years, and I want to give my what I've learned, basically. Because it can be one of those things where there's a lot to it. It can be simple, but there's also a lot to it. First reason is why anybody would want to take testosterone. And generally what happens with guys that get to that middle age, they get a lack of motivation, tired easy, put on a bit of weight, brain fog, lack of libido. And then when they do sports, every time they do sports, they 3 or 4 days afterwards, they're banged up, more aches and pains, and it becomes to the stage where the juice isn't worth the squeeze. If you think of like testosterone, when you were a kid, you had more energy, but it wasn't like you had more energy because you had more food. You're probably eating more food now than you ever had. You should have more energy, but the motivation's not there. When you're youthful, you have more motivation. You do more things. You pop in, you pop out. You don't need 3 hours of a warm-up or anything. For me, I never wanted to be average. I've never been average. I've always done exceptional things. I've always done hard things. I've raced bikes professionally. I've done martial arts. I've always pushed myself. I've always looked to do difficult things. And in that, I wanted to keep doing them. The other thing is my father had dementia and Alzheimer's, and my grandmother had Alzheimer's and dementia. So for me, I didn't want to have that. I made a conscious decision in my 40s that I would take testosterone, and they were the main reasons. One, to keep my brain active, and two, that I can do all the things that I love to do and enjoy them with the experience that I have now, rather than, not do jiu-jitsu or not go for a hill hike or a bike ride or any of those things that you love to do, but it's just getting more and more laboured. Who would take testosterone, or why would you take it? So after around the age of 30, and there's all different variants on this, the general knowledge is after the age of 30, your testosterone levels drop 1% every year. So by the time you get to 40, you're 10% less than you were when you're 30. Now, if you look at like elite athletes or great athletes, the difference between a great athlete and a champion is 1%. That's all, not 10%. Then when you get to 50, you're 20% down. So all of a sudden, the simple things take a lot more effort to do. They also, for instance, a lot of guys with PTSD, they give them testosterone as an antidepressant almost to give them motivation. It's not a magic bullet. It's a supplement. It's like eating clean food or having, mantras or having a gratitude journal. All these things add on. So if you're a fat 25-year-old with no motivation, and you're a fat 45-year-old with no motivation, taking testosterone is not going to do anything for you. So before I started, I made sure that I got lean. And that's the first thing. If you've got a gut, pretty much you're going to have lower testosterone than if you didn't have a gut. So the first things first is get yourself lean, get on a clean diet. Also, watch what you're eating, watch what you're reading, watch what you're looking at. It's not just good being super clean food and then watching porn. And even if you take the level of have a look at your Instagram feed, is full of models with their asses sticking out all over the place. It's not far off the same thing. So you want to watch what you're eating, what you're reading, what you're putting into your body mentally and physically. And then look to see about testosterone. So the first thing to do is get tested. That's the first thing. You get your total testosterone and your free testosterone. You get them checked. Even if you're not going to do it, it's good to have a marker for where you're at, because my normal might be different to your normal. You might function on a lower testosterone level than I function on. So there's a normal range of what people should be, but everybody's slightly different. So even if you're 30 and you're thinking about it for later on, get your levels checked at 30 so you can see what it's like when you're 40 or 35 or whatever. For me, and I did this, I went to a clinic when I was like in my late 40s, and I was normal. I was in the normal range of, or a little bit higher, for what that age group should be. But I'm not normal. I've never been normal. I've always been exceptional. I'm not an average guy that trains once a week or twice a week for an hour or two. I was a full-time athlete, so it's always going to be higher for me. Are you singing in the background, son? What are you singing? Yeah. So for me, it's I don't want to be average. So if I went initially to get mine checked, and it's like, you're fine, you're good, you don't need it, you're good for your age. So then when you get to 50, you're good for your age. When you get to 60, you're good for your age. So for me, that wasn't what I was looking for. I wanted to be me at my age with the testosterone that I had when I was 25 or 30. That's what I want. And for me, the only way to do that is to do it myself. You can go and you can get, you can get your levels checked, and they can be lower than the average of what your age is, and they'll only give you enough or prescribe enough to get you to what it should be for your age, which is just average. And then you'll averagely lose muscle every year, and you'll averagely lose your skeleton structure every year, and things will start falling apart, and you'll get old. If you think about your biggest currency in life, it's not the dollar or the euro, it's muscle. When you start to lose that muscle mass, then you're going to start getting old. So the whole thing is to hang on to lean muscle mass, get lean, keep the muscle mass. And one way of doing that is taking testosterone. So what's the pluses in it? What'll it do for me? So first of all, get lean. Second of all, the testosterone will give me the motivation to do more. That was my biggest fear with testosterone, because I thought of steroids and roid rage, and that is a thing. Where you can really make a fucking mess of your life in a short amount of time with steroids. If I go out at night and I drink a load of beers, a lot of alcohol, and I make a show of myself, I can still wake up the next morning and apologise to people, everything's good. But if I do a load of steroids and high levels of testosterone, and it's in my system for like 9 months, I can ruin every relationship I've ever made really quickly. Turn into a bit of a dick, and that is a possibility. But because of the testosterone replacement, it's a very, very, very small amount. So it's kind of like the difference between 1 glass of wine and 2 bottles of wine. And that's how I'd sum it up. The administration of testosterone, well, there's different ways to take it. Your body kind of drips it out really small increments. It's higher in the morning than it is in the evening, and it just drips it in. There's no method to do that artificially. There's the methods that we have at the moment are gel, cream, injections, and implants. They're probably pills as well. I suppose you can count pills. I started with a cream. I'll go through the different ones. Gel is an alcohol gel. You wake up, you put it on every day. You put it on your shoulder or your neck, and it absorbs in through the skin. You do it every day. So, okay, that's straightforward enough. It's good for traveling. You don't have to go through an airport with syringes, and you just put it on every day. The problem with it is it's hard to measure how much actually gets through the skin. People have different types of skins, oily skin. You might have had a moisturizer on beforehand or whatever, or the shower gel that you put on made a bit of a film over your skin. So the other thing as well, if you've got a partner or a wife or kids, it can rub off onto them, and it takes a while to dry, and that's seasonal dependency. So if you wake up and it's summer and it's hot, it's going to dry in quicker than in the winter and it's cold, right? And then you got to wait to put your clothes on. And that. And plus, because it's alcohol based, sometimes you get a little bit of a redness from the alcohol. The cream is the same application, but you can put it on your scrotum, you can put it on your balls, which a lot of people think is better because it goes straight to the testicles, and away you go. Then the other one is injections. So, and there's different types of ways to administer the injections. You can go daily, 3 times a week, 2 times a week, once a week, once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks. Depends on what you want. The ones every 2 or 3 weeks, say Sustanol would be a name. With Sustanol 250 is this shot that you take every 3 weeks. But in that, you get this spike and a drop. Spike and a drop. It really, in your body, it's always dripped, so it's always fairly steady on the levels. And then as it goes back towards the dailies, then the daily is microdosing daily is probably the closest thing you can get to doing what your body does. But you're gonna have to go through a lot of needles. You're gonna have to have a lot of needles. You're gonna have to inject yourself every day. If you're traveling, it's a bit of a hassle, and so on and so forth. So you've got all these things to consider. For me, I don't mind injecting daily. I'm doing other things daily. I eat my breakfast daily. I write my goals. I write my gratitudes every morning. I do my exercises every morning. So I don't mind making part of that, taking that as part of my my morning routine. It doesn't upset me at all. The other thing about the injections is some people just don't like shots. Some people just don't like sticking an injection in. But it's very easy. You just use a small diabetic needle, and it goes into the muscle, and it's done. It's really, really quick. The quicker you put the needle in, the less painful it is. So you just jab it in the shoulder, in the glute, in the quad, anywhere you want to put it in. So what are the flip sides? What are the downsides of taking testosterone? Getting the dose right can be tricky. So for instance, more is better. Comes in very, very quickly. And once you start taking injections, it's very easy to fall into the trap of, fuck it, I'll have a little bit more. But what you're trying to do here is long-term maintenance. You're not looking for short-term goals. You're not looking to be a bodybuilder. You're not looking to gain massive amount of muscle. You're looking to keep yourself youthful. You're looking to keep yourself on track. You're looking to keep yourself motivated. You're looking for sexual desire. You're looking for keeping lean muscle mass and enjoying the activities that you do without feeling trashed afterwards. That's what I'm looking for, and to keep my brain sharp. I've had a couple of incidents in the last year or two that were fairly heavy, as in I needed hip surgeries and I couldn't walk for like 6 months. A congenital thing that I had, and I had to have double hip surgery. And for not being able to walk for 6 months, I never really lost the head. I might have lost it once or twice, but I'll put that down to having higher levels of testosterone. I think I would have fallen apart before that, because all the things that I love to do were taken away. I couldn't walk, couldn't ride a bike, couldn't go to the gym, couldn't do anything, So for me, it made me better. My motivation to go to the gym is better. So for instance, I've always had this love-hate relationship with training. Go to the gym, and then it comes to go to the gym, fuck, I won't go. Or go train, pack my bag, unpack my bag, get in the car, get out of the car, go to the dojo, get out, just don't go a lot of the time. Whereas now I find that I make the decision more to take action, to do stuff. I find it easier to add more things in. Like, I'm doing more now than I've ever done. I'm doing things that I never used to do. I never used to write down gratitude or goals. I never used to have a morning routine. I never used to, watch what I ate. I never used to be like strict on my diet. But, life is precious and life is important, and especially now. The age I'm at now, I want to do good things. I want to use my experience that I've learned and gained, and be able to do things. So for me, it's a no-brainer. For me, it's one of those things, and that's it. So in my next video, I'm going to talk a little bit more about testosterone, and I'm also going to talk about peptides, because peptides is another thing that I've looked into and been playing around with for the last while. There's a lot of information, and that's the other thing. It's where do you get clean information? Same with the TRT, especially if you're going to go to your doctor. And if you decide to make the choice to do it yourself, like I should have choices in my life to live my life the way I want to live. If I want to eat a carnivore diet, I can do that. If I want to be a vegan, I can do that. If I want to do yoga, I can do that. If I want to do MMA, I can do that. Same with testosterone. If I want to do it, I should be able to do it. And it's got to the stage where, for me, I like having good information, of good medical assistance, of good people behind me that understand what I want to do, not judgmental. Whereas I found when I went into, you know, any place that was kind of like they're only allowed to give it if it's under a certain level, it's not what I want in life. And for me, I don't see any minuses in it that are, you know, that way over the pluses. So there's always going to be minuses, and we'll discuss them in the next video.